After 4 feet and after all these years, the putt finally dropped onto the earth after rolling and turning just a little. Rory McIlroy rose to a level of athletic brilliance that we thought would never materialize as it dropped. And on this wonderful Sunday of complete madness, chaos, chokeholds, and revivals at the Masters, we assumed it more than ever before. Throughout his career, McIlroy has been referred to by each of those terms. Additionally, each of them may be linked to particular segments of a final round where he wasted a 4-shot advantage. His sudden death playoff with Justin Rose ended when the ball vanished, and he immediately erased a lot of his labels. Killed them cold, rephrasing what we said, causing him to fall to his knees and cry uncontrollably. His tears could have filled Ray's Creek. And sure enough, he might, on this night of ridiculous drama that halted 2 clocks that have been following him for what seems like an eternity. 3,898 days of waiting for a 5th major? Finished. The pursuit of becoming the 6th man to finish the Grand Slam by winning this tournament at last? Completed. Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Ben Hogan, Gary Player, Gene Sarazen, and Rory McIlroy are now on the list. And how he arrived there, through countless nights of soul darkness and flagellation. Via Pinehurst 2024, Los Angeles 2023, St. Andrews 2021, and Augusta 2011. Through numerous occasions when we questioned whether he would ever manage to enter the room without smashing his face against the doorframe, his scars growing more severe every year. However, he completed it. And until he defeated Rose on the first extra hole, he did it in a style that is characteristically McIlroy, meaning he made a complete mess of it. Rose was unfortunate to run into McIlroy's story since the Englishman, who is now 44, performed quite well. His 66-11 under par rendered our collective belief that McIlroy and Bryson DeChambeau would face off absurd. The turn took care of that. The run home was filled with tragedy and excellence, and it was possibly the best Masters Sunday ever. We might mention at the conclusion that McIlroy won this tournament with a putt from the identical distance as he used to lose the U.S. Open the previous summer. His enmity with the man who defeated him that day, however, remained the main focus from the start. It's not easy to catalogue the utter insanity of how that went. We might start with DeChambeau's late entrance at the tee box, which came 10 minutes after McIlroy had strolled through the high rollers allowed near the clubhouse with the coldest of looks. They ignored the outstretched hands. When DeChambeau finally emerged, he leaped off his toes like a boxer and bumped a dozen fists. How had Rose behaved when he had been by a long time ago? Who knows? Who gives a damn? Our first mistake. Because on a day that was completely filled with mayhem, everyone's attention was on the front and the first indications of it. Fantastic pandemonium. That began with the first drives, as DeChambeau went left into the trees and McIlroy went right into the sand. When McIlroy got the wrong side of the slop on his chip and 3-putted for a double, they diverged once more after pitching out to a similar location short of the green. After falling down by 2, DeChambeau managed to get away with par and caught up to him on 10 under par, a quarter of an hour later. There was more pandemonium in the par 5 second. Once more, McIlroy struggled to a par after finding sand off the tee. DeChambeau quickly marked his card for a birdie and took the lead. The discussion about the choke was beginning. And perhaps that was the right thing. The next twist, however, came next. At the third, a 333-yard corker, McIlroy at last found a fairway and threw a delicate wedge to set up a 9-foot birdie. He was stable at 11 under. This was the beginning of DeChambeau's demise. He had struggled with his short irons all week, and now he was 23 feet away from his 105-yard approach. The American dropped back to 10 under after 3-putting. Let's talk about his putting at this point. When DeChambeau went for a stroll to decompress, he happened into a group of neighbors engaged in a putting competition in their garden, while McIlroy had spent Saturday night watching Bridgerton. He spent an hour with them. DeChambeau 3-putted again for bogey on the par 3 fourth, and McIlroy capitalized with his first statement move of the day by slinging his 4-iron from the tee to 10 feet. Unfortunately, the additional practice didn't pay off. His advantage would increase to 3. After that, there was some calm as both players made 4 consecutive pars before McIlroy birdied the 9th. As they turned for the back 9, he had 4 shots on DeChambeau at 13 under. This is when the starter's pistol goes off for some, and for everyone else, it's when they realize that there are no longer 2 horses in the race. Come on, Rose. He shot to 10 under after making 5 birdies in 7 holes starting on the 7th hole, one more than DeChambeau, who was joined by Swedish prodigy Ludvig Aberg. Still, McIlroy was the center of attention. The 10th as well. That location where, in 2011, he so violently broke down as a young charger. This time, he made a birdie from 15 feet after flying 310 yards to the center of the fairway. When McIlroy cut his way out of the trees at 11 and skidded toward the greenside lake, he may have said a little prayer as he entered Amen Corner. The bogey that followed a duff chip might have hurt less if it had gone in by another yard. Or maybe that was because his playing companion, DeChambeau, double bogeyed after falling into the water. The U.S. Open champion was out at 7 under. The man he defeated at Pinehurst was 4 shots ahead of Aberg and Rose, who drove behind the trees and eventually slipped at 14. It was McIlroy's to lose, we said, even with a rather composed mind. A given. But we can be foolish. McIlroy can, too. Moving on to the 13th hole and the ensuing carnage, McIlroy chipped into the water after logically laying up short of the par 5 stream rather than aiming for the glitz of an eagle hunt. At the 14th hole, he rolled it into a bogey, his second double of the round and 4th of the competition. It looked like he had blown it at 10 under. With Aberg on the same mark and Rose, that forgotten genius, sinking back-to-back birdies at 16 and 17, it was definitely one for the record books. The new leader was him. Then he wasn't. He was back in a 3-way tie after tree problems on the 17th. At the par 5 15th hole, McIlroy stepped up to his second and blasted to eagle range, but he is well aware of how easily such blunders can occur here. Rose rolled in from 20 feet on the final hole barely minutes after the putt was missed, but the birdie had his nose in front. How does McIlroy react to such crazy scenes? On the 17th, he hit his second shot to 2 feet. Boom. Birdie. The front. He merely needed to keep his composure on the 18th to get halfway from the fairway before running into more sand and missing a 6-foot putt. The awkward oaf. The choker. The person who bottles. The blasted thing will never be won by the man.